All right, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the Paper Plane, which is a modern classic cocktail, which is genius in its simplicity. It's so easy to put together, completely equal parts, but it's an incredible drink on its own, or an amazing drink to experiment with, which is what we're going to do today. So I'll show you the classic specs, which are really easy. We're going to make a coffee-inspired version, which is going to elevate the drink by adding another different element to it, being coffee. And then third, we're going to create a contemporary version of this drink, which adds really nice texture, really nice tropical notes, and changes the dynamics somewhat whilst keeping the DNA at its core. So, welcome to Paper Plane Classic Coffee Contemporary. So the Paper Plane was created in 2008 by a really influential bartender called Sam Ross, and I've actually covered this drink once before in my Essential Cocktails course, which I'll link at the end of the video, which is a completely free 50 video cocktail course, which will take you from having never made a cocktail before, right through to knowing some of the best cocktails in the world, and also how to kind of tweak and reimagine cocktails to create your own drinks. So look out for that at the end of the video. Watch the Paper Plane video, which I'll put just here. But essentially what we're doing here is taking a riff on a drink called The Last Word, where we're subbing out some ingredients, subbing some in, creating something which is completely different in its flavor profile, but inspired by that really simple equal parts formula. So when Sam created the drink in 2008, when Paper Planes was playing Everywhere You Went, which I remember, he subbed out gin from A Last Word and incorporated bourbon, which has a completely different flavor profile, much more kind of nutty and round than gin, which is a little bit brighter and more citric. He took out the two liqueur elements, maraschino liqueur and chartreuse, and subbed in Amaro Nonino, which is quite a delicate Amaro, and then originally Campari, but he found it a little bit too bitter, so he settled on Aperol. And then finally, he switched out lime juice in The Last Word, brought in lemon juice, which is a little bit milder, a little bit less acidic, and there you have the Paper Plane, which was born. So as I said, this is a really simple drink, equal parts to put together. I'm going to do 25 mils each of bourbon, 25 mils of Amaro Nonino, which has those really nice kind of bittersweet notes, 25 mils of Aperol, which is a little bit less bitter, a little bit more kind of perceived sweetness than Campari, really orangey and citric, and then 25 mils of our lemon juice. Give that really good shake together. Garnish, if you like, with a Paper Plane, and there you have that drink, which is the Paper Plane. So this is a really simple starting point. Loads of complexity for just 4 ingredients, but what we're going to do now is build on this and incorporate coffee into it, into a drink which I'm very proud of the name, which is going to be the High Flyer. All right, so for our coffee riff on the Paper Plane, which is called the High Flyer, because it's going to have you flying high with the caffeine, although you could use decaf, we're going to be pretty much keeping things exactly the same, with the exception of adding a single espresso and one secret kind of bridging ingredient in a second. So again, we're going to be shaking this. I've already got my glass in the freezer, getting nice and cold. Single shot in the drink, and I actually recommend the second shot you can either drink beforehand or even serve on the side, which would be quite a nice little presentation. So 25 grams, give or take, for our single espresso. Then I'm going to add 25 mils each of the other ingredients. So the bourbon is going to tie in really nicely with the coffee, with those kind of rounder vanilla chocolate notes. The Amaro Nonino has some really nice bittersweet citrus notes in there, so almost like bitter orange, which is again really nice time with the coffee. Aperol, more bittersweet orange, a little bit of rhubarb going on, some kind of positive bitterness, just like coffee. And then almost finally, 25 mils of freshly squeezed lemon juice. So when it came to choosing the coffee for this, the first one I actually got completely wrong. So I was thinking go with those kind of big, vibrant, bright notes in the coffee. It was actually washed Ethiopian coffee, which is a delicious coffee on its own. But in this drink, it became actually too sour, too acidic, and too kind of zingy. And I'm actually not a massive fan of espresso and citrus at the best of times. So this drink did reinforce that to begin with. But then when I changed the coffee and added this final ingredient, it kind of changed my mind on this. And this was completely transformational. So this is an Indonesian coffee. It's a washed coffee from Round Hill. And the flavor notes they give that I think are particularly relevant are fig and pear drops. So the fig is that kind of dried fruit flavor. The pear was a different kind of acidity. But there's also loads of chocolate in here, loads of cherry and dried fruit, and it completely changed the drink. So super bright acidic coffees in this drink, not so much. Something with a bit more body, a little bit more kind of chocolate going on. Actually really, really nice. So I got it wrong, that's fine. Make it again, and it's way better. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you might remember an older drink, which is called a filter Paper Plane, which at the time I was pretty happy with. It was essentially this with filter coffee, but I just felt it kind of lacked the coffee intensity and that really nice texture you get from espresso. So this version, much better, choose the right coffee, and you'll be in for a real treat. And then the final ingredient, which I was saying is kind of secret. If you follow the channel for a while, you know this isn't secret at all. I love to season my drinks in order to bring all those big flavors together. And we're gonna go with 0.5 grams of vanilla extract this time. So as I said before, I'm not usually a huge fan of espresso and citrus, and this just again bridges it all together really nicely and finishes off the drink. So now we're just gonna give this a really good shake with lots of ice. And this will really kind of emulsify the drink, give it that almost espresso martini-like texture. But because it's just a single shot, it's not gonna be quite so thick and moussey, which I think is the right thing here. We don't want it to be a really coffee-dominated drink. We want coffee to underpin those flavors already in the drink because, as I said before, it works with everything in there. So give this a hard shake over lots of ice. Just gonna fine strain this into our frozen coupe glass. And when it comes to a garnish, I think for this, I wouldn't bother with a garnish. So I think it's got a really nice color. It's got a nice level of foam without being too much. And when I did garnish this with lemon zest, again, it took that acidity out of balance. So it's got plenty of aroma, plenty of texture. I think that's pretty damn beautiful. And there we have the high flyer. Enjoy it, friends. So for our contemporary paper plane, which is a clarified drink called a tropical plane, we're gonna slightly change the recipe a little bit whilst maintaining the DNA of the paper plane. And we're gonna do something quite interesting, which is gonna be clarification. So this is using alternative milk, which will mean a lot of people can enjoy this. And it's gonna incorporate really nice tropical flavors and also an amazing texture to the drink. So this is really easy to make. Scale it up, scale it down, whatever you want. We're gonna go 100 grams of pineapple rum this time, which I'm gonna put a video just above on how you can make. This is instead of the bourbon, which is gonna give a little bit more of those kind of tropical flavor notes, a little bit more fruitiness and also a little bit of sweetness. And then we're gonna go 100 grams again of Amaro Nonino, 100 grams of Aperol, 100 grams of lemon juice, and then you're gonna take that premix and pour it over 100 grams of coconut milk. So as soon as these mix together, you'll see the coconut milk starts to curdle, and that's actually a really good thing. That just means the curd's in the way and the coconut milk is starting to separate, and that's how we clarify the drink. So once you've got your curdled mix, pour it through a spent bed of filter coffee, or just a paper filter if you prefer. I like to use the coffee in here, which is left over from brewing the coffee that morning. The particular coffee I used is this washed gesha from Blossom Coffee Roasters from Costa Rica. Really delicious coffee, quite delicate, but by just passing it through that spent bed of filter coffee, which usually goes in the bin, you're gonna pick up some really subtle coffee notes, which again, with all these flavors, work really, really nicely. So once your liquid starts running clear, transfer your paper filter to a fresh glass, pour that liquid back through, and then keep feeding this until you've got a really perfectly clarified drink. You'll be left with this, which is your coconut clarified paper plane. You're gonna pour this over some really nice clear ice. This is from Plymouth Ice Company. And then to garnish, we're gonna go with something a little bit special. Again, leaning into those subtle tropical notes in the drink, which is gonna be a half passion fruit. So there we have a delicious, silky, coconut clarified tropical plane. So let's give this one a try. I'm really, really happy with this drink. You can eat the passion fruit, which is obviously delicious, but the drink's what I'm talking about. Cheers. To me, this is a pretty perfect drink. From a balance point of view, it's got acidity, sweetness and bitterness in perfect balance. Texturally, it's kind of creamy and silky without being heavy and overpowering. Clarity, unbelievable. I can taste everything in here without anything being too overpowering. Pineapple's there, bitter sweet notes from the Nonino, sweetness from the Aperol, acidity from the lemon, coconut in that really nice kind of creamy, soft, gentle texture. I really like this drink, and you could really easily scale it up. You could double it, triple it, quadruple it, as much as you want, keep it in the fridge, and then you've always got this incredible, clear coconut paper plane in your fridge. So obviously today we've explored the paper plane. Delicious drink, I've really enjoyed looking into it, but what's your favorite cocktail? Let me know in the comments below what you want me to explore in the future, and I'll add it to my list. If you want to watch that Essential Cocktails course, 50 videos completely free, I'll put that here. There's going to be more Classic Coffee Contemporary here, which I'll be adding to over time. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed coffee, cocktails, and bringing the two together. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to drink all this. Cheers.